the driving force behind all these webinars as a corporate social responsibility, bringing awareness on different topics. I would like to hand it over to Colonel Sanyal to take it forward. Colonel Sanyal, all yours.
Thank you, Tarun Bhandari ji. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of ASSOCHAM and on my own, I would like to welcome all the participants and all the distinguished speakers for this very timely and meaningful webinar on the fake news applications that would steal your data or your money. I would like to especially welcome our chief guest speaker, Dr. Kanika Seth, renowned cyber law expert and founder, Seth Associates law firm, who shall be enlightening us on this topic. Thank you so much, Dr. Kanika, for having spared your valuable time and joining this webinar today with ASSOCHAM.
It's a privilege.
I would also like to specially welcome our chairman, ASSOCHAM IT and ITES, Dr. Lavneesh Chanana, who has very kindly agreed to join this webinar and has, despite his all busy schedule with his company. I really want to thank you, sir, for coming here and joining us on this seminar. Dr. Chanana is the Vice President, Government Affairs, Asia, Pacific and Japan, SAP. I would also like to extend a very warm welcome to Shivnath Thukral, Director of Public Policy, WhatsApp and Facebook. Thank you, sir, for coming here. I would like to welcome all participants, our esteemed managing committee members who may have joined, our past presidents who may be joining the webinar very soon or would have already come on board. This is actually a very, very important topic, and I must thank my colleague Varun and his team for putting this webinar together at such a short notice. In fact, it was just about 3 days back we had thought about it, and lo behold, the webinar is in front of us. Thank you all distinguished speakers. I would now like to say, let's take it forward, the webinar on the awareness and safeguard from fake news, fake COVID-19 websites and apps that could steal your data. A word about ASSOCHAM. ASSOCHAM has been the oldest apex chamber of the country, and it has been known for its dynamic and very thoughtful knowledge chamber. It is completing 100 years now, and we will be celebrating the 100th annual session on the 11th of December 2020 this year. Last year we kick-started the 100th year celebrations, and we never expected that we would be coming into the grip of COVID-19, but nevertheless our members, our associates, our associations, our institutional members, our managing committee members, they are all fighting COVID-19. And let me assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that ASSOCHAM is doing a phenomenal work under the dynamic leadership of its leaders, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, our president, and our senior vice president, Sri Vineet Agarwal. So now may I request Mr. Tarun to take the webinar forward. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Dr. Chana to open this webinar officially and start this webinar.
Okay, thank you so much, Tarun. Thank you so much, Colonel Sanel. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this webinar once again on this important topic, as we were discussing in the morning, on online safety, on this fake news and apps during the time of crisis, and all of us agree that truly we are all in unprecedented times. The life somehow seems to have gone digital overnight. We have online video chats, we have online parties, we have webinars, and whatnot. But what has happened, in parallel is suddenly one area that has caught the attention of all is the maturity of society and professionals also to absorb this digital upsurge and differentiate information from misinformation. Now, no, if you have heard the World Health Organization Director General, he spoke very well the other day. He said that we are not only fighting an epidemic, we are fighting an infodemic. I would what I want to do in the next 2-3 minutes that I have been given to before we get the main speaker, Dr. Karnika, on speaking to you, is just to set the context by covering probably what could be the impact of fake news, impact of fake apps during the time of crisis, the why part of the fake news, as to why it happens, how it spreads, and probably some initial ideas to how do we actually, what can be done to prevent the fake news, and then that will set the context for the future, for my colleague Shivnath and Dr. Karnika to actually take it forward from there. Now, if we take the example of the current crisis of COVID-19, as an example, if we see even the news about the cures to COVID-19 which are circulating, and people believing in those is becoming a cause of concern. Now, the challenge that we have is without verifying the source, it's common for people to pass on such information, sometimes for fun, sometimes for a purpose, and sometimes with an agenda. Now, the other challenge that we see is the content that we see on social media is jumbled up so much from one medium to another medium that this makes it very difficult for a user to actually think of checking the sources. People, normally mistake satire or fiction for real news. And if you ask in a society like India, if you ask, people will come and tell you that my forwarding this particular news item or this particular message or this particular content that I received was with good intention. Now, howsoever well intentioned it may be, but it may not be helpful at all. It may be, on the contrary, it could be. And the other point that I wanted to highlight is typically it's a common experience that during the time of such crisis and the lockdowns that we are in, the usage of social media somehow increases exponentially. And in that process, the original information from the original source could have been reinterpreted, could have been modified, or even could have been ignored altogether, depending on the point that the person is trying to put across. And some of and all of you would have been receiving these messages on your phones that the constitutional experts few days back have now become the coronavirus experts. So they are actually offering advice. The bigger challenge, ladies and gentlemen, is during the time of crisis, people fail to absorb recommendations. People fail to absorb advices, or they choose to ignore those. The challenge that we have is there is no what's in it for me to which we have been so far able to generate in terms of maturity of society for that kind of usage. Now, what has happened as a result, we have actually started using secondary methods of a solution to this kind of issues. So states have come out with dedicated websites wherein people can verify which news is fake, which news is real. Many leaders and government officials and prominent figures are using their Twitter handles to disseminate news from what is fake. If you see the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare or the Health Minister, they are also using their Twitter handle, and companies have teamed up together with the government. For example, WhatsApp has set up this MyGov Corona Help Desk, which is designed to share authentic information and bust some of the myths. Now, the point, important point is, so as an end user, as an individual user, what do I do? What do I do? The answer is commonsensical and simple to start with. If I'm able to find a reference or a link to the original research as presented in the story or the content, then probably it's a good chance that what I'm seeing is a breakthrough. However, if it's a lone message with a certain claim and no evidence, I think one should think twice. That maturity, once we develop, once we actually take it forward, I think that will be the stage that will be desirable to avoid, the kind of, however we are far away from that. On the overall environmental perspective, we have the IT Act, we have the Penal Code, we have the Disaster Management Act to tackle misinformation. We also need to initiate an intense awareness campaign on false news. The awareness about sources, sites like World Health Organization is very, very important. And if you happen to come across the report by World Economic Forum, they have put it very, very nicely. They say there are three broad requirements. One, we need to embrace uncertainty responsibly. We need to embrace this uncertainty responsibly, identify where the information is coming from and who's backing the claim. If that is done, most of the issues and most of the problems that you'll be hearing today are solved. So I just thought I'll take this opportunity to set the context. So once again, stay safe, ladies and gentlemen, handle information responsibly, and I hand over to Shivnath for his points before we move to Dr. Karnika. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Dr. Channa. It's a pleasure talking to all of you, and welcome to everybody who's on the webinar. Dr. Channa, if you can do a thumbs up to make sure that I am being heard properly. Can you do a thumbs up, because I don't get to see any.
You are.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So thanks so much. I believe I have 10 minutes, so I'll quickly give an overview, and you hit the nail on the head on many of the aspects which I wanted to cover. I represent, as an organization, the family of apps across WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. And I just wanted to give a flavor of how we are ensuring that all our platforms are used in a very responsible manner at a time of crisis like this. So I think two words you used quite well, Dr. Channa, is about the maturity of users at this point in time, given the fact that there are hordes of information sources, but that maturity is a desirable state. It is not the reality today. That's very true. And second, you said is about the awareness of sources and credible sources of information, which is very critical. And that is the only way people can make sure that they are not spreading any misinformation. And the third aspect that you mentioned, quoting the WHO DG, is about it's not just only a pandemic, it's an infodemic. I completely agree. There is a problem out there, and the best way to solve the problem is to take it head on. And I think that's exactly what our approach has been. Misinformation is also an element of social behavior, and social behavior is something which you cannot change overnight. But what we can change is deployment of technology to make sure social behavior, when it leads to misinformation, can that be checked or curbed. So if you see the regular view out there is, oh, there is so much of misinformation on social media. I will address that point, but there is also a lot of information on social media. There is a lot of valuable information on social media, especially in the time of a lockdown like this. It is due to social media that you are being able to connect with people. You are being able to connect with your family. You're being able to check on the facts and figures if you are using credible sources. Also, you're able to get a sense of what's happening across the world. So I think on any given day, if I compare the benefits of social media to the downsides, I would say the benefits always win. However, in order to address the downsides of the negatives, what can we do? So let's take the first bucket, as you said, Dr. Channa, is about the information bucket. How do we make sure that credible sources of information are right up front and center for every user? So if I, for example, take WhatsApp, in WhatsApp, the fact is that we have partnered with not just the central government, almost 5 state governments going up to almost 12 state governments to set up a helpline. What we are wanting to see or working with the government is to encourage that responsible social behavior, that if you have any need for information, go to the helpline. The Delhi Chief Minister launched the Delhi helpline yesterday, and he himself said that there'll be many more features in it. So for example, if you go to the Delhi helpline right now, they're even giving you an option of getting the e-pass. If, for example, that option wasn't there, people would be confused where to go, where to find that information. If there is some information out there on the web saying this is how you apply for e-pass, you don't know whether that's the government version or not. So in our effort to partner with governments, we think we can create many credible sources of information. WhatsApp is just one of them, working on helplines. We are also working with MyGov to create the information hub, where we are partnering with the Ministry of Health to make sure they are able to put out the right kind of information. We are also deploying our messenger bot on Facebook, through which, again, users can interact directly with the Facebook pages of various official channels. Similarly, how do you make sure that the state capacity can be increased at this time so that they can counter misinformation with the right information? So we are carrying out training sessions across local governments and emergency health organizations. So in a way, whatever is possible technologically, programmatically, we are doing to make sure the right sources of information are out there. So once you crowd out misinformation with the right sources of information, I think that's a good start to do it. But does the problem end there? Probably not. There will be a need to work in some sense on a multi-stakeholder model. And when I say multi-stakeholder, the partnership element that I stressed upon, I think COVID has made us come to realize a reality that governments and technology platforms have to work very closely and have to work towards positive and constructive outcomes. And we are very proud that we have been able to prove that we can do that. It is not just within the space of health helpline that we are talking about. There are many ideas doing the rounds right now. Can we help solve the education problem because there's a disruption in the academic year? Can we ensure that children can access their education platform, because there are multiple education platforms. If you see from a government and the Diksha, there are other platforms. Can we help solve that problem? There are solutions being talked about. Can we help solve the retail supply chain problem using the power of our platform? So there are many innovative ways where technology can help deal with the aftermath of COVID. And that's why the multi-stakeholder model is important. We need the help of society. We need the help of users. And that's what we are doing through our training programs, etc. But, and I know this is the elephant in the room, I will not shy away from it, is to address the problem of misinformation. If you see, misinformation is not a new thing. I've always maintained, and those on this call who have heard me speak at public forum before, I think misinformation, fake news has been around in our society for hundreds of years. It's a question of what are we doing to check it. We feel very proud across at least Facebook family of apps. Our work with fact checkers is recognized as a credible way to solve it. Now what we are trying to do is to how to make sure that all those fact checking pieces are getting amplified in the right sense, so that we are able to reach out to as much or as many people who are potential users of or who are potential people who will fall for misinformation. So how do we amplify that? And there are many interesting models we are working with MyGov, where we are connecting the fact checkers with not just the national helpline, but with the state helplines to say, can you take those fact checks and put into your legitimate channels of information to put that out? So I think that is one way to address the problem. Second, I would say those who are familiar with Facebook, we have what we call the community standards, which is basically our policies which determine how we look at content. And health related misinformation is not a new thing. We've been working on for 2 years. We've been in a state of preparation for 2 years. It all started with the anti-vaccine movement in countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan. So we are used to how to deal with that. In India, we are very clear for COVID. For the last 2 months, we have implemented our policy changes, which look at any COVID related information which can lead to harm. So for example, we ban ads on people trying to sell surgical masks or any kind of medical equipment which is required right now in the case of emergency, because we do understand sometimes it can be seen as a bit of a orchestrated racket trying to hoard on prices, etc. And we want to make sure that no misinformation around those issues are being spread. We don't allow such ads. We also are very strict. We have a prioritization model where our reviewers right now will look at content which is leading to misinformation on COVID, whether it's from health point of view or even from real world harm. So for example, videos targeting a particular community will be taken down, and we have banked those issues in Facebook. Now, I do recognize that is a problem in WhatsApp because we don't get to see from an end-to-end encryption model, but we are very strong proponents, and I'm very proud to say that we've been in constant engagement with the Ministry of IT. What can we do from a technological point to solve it? And there are many ideas, and we're always open to ideas on this. Many ideas on how we can stop virality of misinformation. Many ideas around how, if there is an orchestrated move to spread misinformation, can we take action on that? And we are looking at product ideas. If you remember, about 2 years ago, we brought down the limit on forward to 5. Now, other product ideas being discussed is, what if in case of viral messages, can we bring that down to a much lesser number? Similarly, what if as a user within your WhatsApp message, which you think is false, can you do a search within the app? So there are many ways of solving this problem, and we are continuously reviewing these issues. And I think as it evolves over the next few days, you will see many more announcements. But I would strongly encourage all our users to go out and see for themselves whether the credible sources of information model works or not. We think it does. One is through the Facebook platform, Instagram platform, as well as WhatsApp through the helplines across the country. So that's how I would summarize. I just want to end with one point. I don't think this is the only way to solve this. Dr. Channa, you made a very interesting point of how do we carry out educating people across the country as we move forward? How do we make sure there are mass campaigns discouraging people from doing that? And I think there will be a time very soon where I think these things will be a part of curriculum, not just at schools, colleges. When we do state training capacity, we also tell state government officials this whole habit of forwarding without even looking at the credibility of information. Are there ways to address behavioral changes as we go along, especially at this time when it is such a big health emergency? What can we do to contribute to those things? And we are working on various models on our education piece as well to see how we can work with the HRD ministry to address some of those issues. So that's how I would summarize it. I'm happy to take any questions. I think I'm staying within my time. Happy to hand it back to you, Dr. Channa. Thank you for the chance.
Okay, thank you so much, Shivnath. Tarun, would you like to take over?
Sure. I would like to bring in Dr. Kanika Seth now. She's a renowned cyber law expert and founder of Seth's law firm. She's going to enlighten us on fake websites, apps, how to avoid them, how to identify them. Over to you, Dr. Seth.
Thank you, Tarun. At the outset, I thank Colonel Sanyal, Dr. Lavnish Chanana, Shri Shivnath Thukraji for having joined this webinar. It's a very important topic. Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for taking this up. Well, at the outset, it's a very important phase that we're all going through, unprecedented times, and certainly issue like COVID has never been, there heard in the past really, and the way it's affecting us all. Not only physical health is what is, at the helm of affairs, but not only the physical health, it's also the online digital space, which is equally important, I feel. The digital hygiene and the digital safety is also paramount. The reason why I think this topic is even more pertinent is that over the last 15-20 days, we've been flooded with calls on phishing attacks and fake news in particular, leading to certain phishing attacks, and people, gullible people, being duped of monies, fake calls, and so on and so forth. We'll be discussing this agenda today. And I want to start by, giving a perspective. As rightly put, the idea of having this webinar is that we educate the audience on what really is happening today in the online space. The cyber criminals are taking advantage of this crisis and exploiting vulnerable people and their modus operandi, and how we can safeguard ourselves from, getting duped, and let other people also know about it. That's the whole perspective. And we hope to enlighten some, best practices that we can really use, and, that will be helpful for people at large. Initially, I feel that we can divide this PPT or this presentation into three parts, major problems that we are facing today in COVID times. One is the fact that there is fake donation websites. There are fake donation websites. Two is there are lots of phishing links being shared, and certain, other ways through keyloggers and otherwise people are being duped. Thirdly is the fake news as well. So I begin by, just putting the whole perspective here is, there on this, captured on the slide, that physical existence is under threat, no doubt. Emotional, mental well-being, I know not only children, but adults are facing this. They're all working from home, economic crisis. Social well-being is being questioned, and a lot of the entire nation, in fact, entire global space is being affected. So despite surge in social media connectivity, despite social media coming to our aid, technology coming to our aid, in number of subscriptions, courses, movies being made free, apps being made free, and surge in online conferencing and other activities. There's an upsurge in some parts of e-commerce activities too. Yet, we are at a stage where we are digitally finding it as a threat in COVID times to sustain the current landscape of, the modus operandi of the criminals is such that it is so difficult for a common person to understand this could be a phishing attack, because they're in a state of panic, because they are not thinking sanely. It is happening to each and everybody, and they're on social media and clicking on certain links. Now, this is a snapshot from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, urging the people not to panic. And not only the Ministry of Health and Welfare, but WHO, as we will see, has a lot of advices and correct situational advice, correct situational reports also. And instead of going to sites which or links which really are not authentic, one should actually go onto official sites to see that. We'll be going through these slides in some time. So as I said, the e-commerce, if you see the average orders, they've surged multiple times, 50 times there's a surge in the media, social media volume of interactions. 88 cities in India recording air to be cleaner. Those are plus points. However, what we need to be careful of is the threats online. The interactions have reached 22.3 million in the online space, only related to COVID-19 related interactions. And the advice on the WHO website, they are very interesting infographics. If you have a chance to look at them, please look at these. It urges us to be careful, alert, kind. It urges us not to spread fake news as well. And look at the current scenario and reports on WHO platform. Also, it asks us to be calm and centered, because we are grappling with anxieties of a different order altogether. So it urges us to maintain a healthy lifestyle, and only urges us to draw on the skills which we are happy doing, things which we like to do, because that is the only way to positively and constructively spend this time. Now look at this slide. US FTC urging people to be cautious of fake websites, apps and emails and links in social media posts. It's not just in the US. We are facing this through fake donation sites and links being shared on social media, music files being shared on social media. Even a gullible person might just click on an audio music thinking it's a song, but it's not a song, it's a phishing racket. Advisories been issued by the Delhi police to be cautious of these cyber criminals. And if you look at this particular Twitter post, DCP South Delhi tweeting, fake relief schemes. I know we are all trying to support and help, even financially, the government to combat this problem, but fake donation sites. This brings us to the WHO site. This is the genuine WHO site where one needs to donate. And if you see, it clearly demarcates a particular tab where you can do the same. This is the PM Relief Fund site where one should go and donate if required, to go on that particular platform and just do it right there. PM Cares Fund is the latest, in news we have heard that there's a special fund set up only to combat this COVID-19 by the Prime Minister. This is the right, fund, the PM Cares Fund. And only with this, there has been a FIR registered against a fraudster who tried to create a fake handle on UPID. It's this UPID, instead of saying PM Cares at SBI, showed PM Care at SBI, and people have been duped of monies. So I would say not only such fake handles are there on various, it could be on various platforms, but we have to be aware of fake video sessions. Keyloggers are basically intrusion software which would render the device susceptible. Like a CCTV, one can actually see whatever is happening on the screen. A virus can infect through an attachment or in a particular clicking on a particular link. And fake NGOs. I was just going through some news reports and I was shocked, literally shocked to see the number of domain names which have increased in using the word coronavirus. 50% of the domain names are fake. They are fake, running fake businesses. And there are fake therapists, healers, astrologers in these times. So one has to be very careful of these kind of, rackets which are going on today. And if you see the mygov.in portal, this mygov.in portal also has a link to giving this fund, wherever you want to donate to the government, you can do so. And for genuine updates on coronavirus, WHO also has a separate page with time to time, every day, daily situational reports, which are authentic. So you can actually go and look at that rather than anywhere else. And because it's creating a paranoia, people are becoming paranoid with mental health problems being risen. I've spoken to some psychiatrists and psychologists who are my colleagues and friends, and they have said so. The number of patients are out of COVID may not be increasing as much as the mental health patients and problems, sane people, even common everyday people are facing today. Then we come to the phishing emails. Okay, so BBC reports. I've seen US, I've seen UK also facing these, phishing email rackets today, and India as well. Now, the messages are going from the BBC reporting that the government is taking measures to create awareness among people that fake vaccines should not be, you should not get lured with ads giving fake vaccines and claiming to have cure against COVID-19. And just yesterday, I got a message from another, particular email, somebody from named Lisa, selling some fake masks and urging us to click on certain links, which obviously I did not, but there are a lot of people who may even click on that. And they're asking them to click on those links, and that takes them to a page, which is authentic page of maybe a government site, where it looks like authentic, but it's not authentic. And there, if you've given your financial information, next second you're duped. So that is one way that the fraudsters are using. Second way is that they are asking them to click on phishing links. Third is that they're asking people to go onto websites which are completely fake. Fourth is that they're asking, they are, in fact, they're saying that they're claiming that they are an educational site. They will give free online tutorials. Even that is happening. Anything which is scarce and anything which people want today, whether it's masks or education or anything else, or free video conferencing apps, they could be fake. Unless you are checking them, you should not be going ahead, using those services. Then if you see this, another kind of racket, fake tax refund mails, because government is giving extensions in filing taxes, there are some fake tax refund mails which are being circulated, and fake mails to download safety measures. Anybody who wants to read about safety today, and without thinking what the site is or the source of the same is, one is downloading manuals and news. That's what's really, bothering us, and we must take some positive concrete actions against that. Now, fake mails, virus is airborne. Hackers are weaponizing this fear and panic. They are using emails to flood the boxes, and those mails come as if they're coming from WHO or from the CDC. So don't get, next time you get a mail like that, or anybody else has received a mail like that, you must be cautious that this could be fake. This link is directing victims to a fake Microsoft login page where people are encouraged to enter their mail ID and password. And the next moment, they could also have ransomware attacks. And people are thinking this is authentic, and they're not even adopting two-step verification, which is basic thing, which is, there today. fake donation links, bitcoins. I mean, it's something very shocking that people believing that there could be, a donation through bitcoins. And this source is through the BBC, page. Fake CDC email asking for donations to develop a vaccine. Now, all these are fake. Then advisories have been issued by the Department of Justice in the US, urging people not to be, duped by these common rackets prevalent in the cyberspace, advertising of counterfeit virus testing kits, and completely fake charitable organizations coming up. So increasing in prices of certain items, fake supplies, fake marks, you need to be cautious. Similarly, some advisories have been given in the Indian context also. Indian government has issued advisory to curb fake news on coronavirus. And we can see these slides. Even television channels programs, they are being doctored. So one has to be careful of, even if it's in a frame of a television program, it could be doctored. And the Supreme Court of India has expressed its concern. In a PIL, they have specifically said that we need to take measures against fake news urgently. And the government has then issued an advisory on the 2nd of April that they will be taking effective measures to fight this. And they are creating a web portal for people to verify facts and unverified news as well. So while this issue has been, there for the last few years, now COVID-19 has accentuated the need. It's made it more imperative that the government takes some positive stance. And as Shri Shivnathji was just explaining, that I'm very happy to see the government and interacting with the social media platforms to really reach out to people, because that's the only way to reach right now. And doing a multi-stakeholder effort or exercise is the only way forward at this point. Now, useful resources on awareness at Ministry of Health site also has certain useful material. If you would like to see, I think those are also useful. Infographics are also there. And this app, the Aragya Setu app, now that was launched by the Government of India. Similarly, there's another app which helps detect the COVID patients and vicinity in which you were there, and what is the risk rate and the density, where are the people affected, and the suspects, whether you are in the vicinity of the suspected area or not. Genuine apps like Corona Kavach and Arogya Setu could really be helpful at this time. I've seen a lot of apps, also fake apps online today. And if you click on those apps, they are showing a globe with the density of COVID patients across various countries. And these particular apps, especially links also with .exe, these are all fake. So unless you check the terms and conditions, and unless you check the source, if they're on Google Play or if they're on Apple, there would be some definitely some sort of a authentication check. However, I urge people to really go and see the source and how many people are actually adopting it, and read the terms and conditions, because what these apps are doing in the garb of giving information of coronavirus, they're stealing public data, they're stealing private data of people. They're asking access to your camera, they're asking access to your videos, your contacts. Why is all this required? And nobody even bothers to check the terms in this situation of panic. They just want to know what's happening in the world and how safe are we. And in that panic, they are downloading all these fake apps which are stealing away their data. And a lot of people store even their passwords in the reminders or in some way as a file in their phones. It's going. And if it's going, where it's going, how it's going to be misused, we don't know. Even if there's not an immediate misuse, they could be misused later. So I'm glad WhatsApp has come up with this chat box also, which says MyGov Corona Help Desk. And this is also helping people understand the real situation better, interact with the government also, and learn more information on what they can do and what they should be doing in this times of what kind of precautions, and any sort of helpline numbers, they're all being displayed there. And government advisories are also, available. And India Today screenshot is doctored. Imagine, I was just telling you about the news. This shows that even, authentic papers, their fake duplicate and fake screenshots or videos can be made completely fake. They're not even doctored. I think they're completely fake. Those are available today. So you have to go to the authentic site of, for example, India Today or any other newspaper or a channel to see the same. It shouldn't be going across, if it's circulated otherwise, you don't know the source is correct or not. So third was the fake news. We discussed the donations, we discussed the part of phishing attacks, and now we are on fake news as well. So many kinds of fake news. I've seen people thinking they're going to have garlic and they'll be cured of, but they will be prevented from having coronavirus. N number of false claims today. Some homeopathic medicines, people are claiming that they have a cure against COVID or a prevention. Fake news, this is from CDC. One of the fake news, shaving facial hair will prevent corona. It's false. WHO site has very interesting infographics, which has a myth column and a fact column. So in the myth column, you have what is generally spread in media, and what people should know is a fact is on the right side. So it is wrong to claim that, COVID can be destroyed if it's a temperature of above 25 degrees. It's not the case. Holding breath for 10 seconds to check corona infection, again a myth. No specific medicines that cure corona yet. I've seen in the papers today, I think they were, US has come up with a coronavirus, like a drug, but that is tested on mice, but not on humans yet. So we're not sure. We don't have anything foolproof in terms of medicine right now. Garlic, as I said, cannot prevent coronavirus. And so the question now is, how do we curb or combat this fake news problem? So if you see these slides, again, you can detect fake news. First of all, we'll have to read the newspaper websites, original official news handles, whether it's Twitter handle or it's any other social media handle of a newspaper or a news, PIB reports, official government websites, and news sites. Telecom companies are also spreading information as a caller tune, or some status updates are also being given. Then WHO website. Official websites of the other countries or governments can be looked into for their country status, and in our country, obviously, the Ministry of Health. And we can also detect fake videos easily. Consider a video which is going very slow, incomplete, seems to be doctored, or seems to be something like a deep fake, which is completely, dubbed in terms of voice or picture, morphing. Or we can even check sometimes geolocation properties of a particular image or a particular video. Then if it is a missing content, if it has any misrepresentation, the text is right, but the picture or the video alongside it is wrong. Doctored content, isolated content, omissions are there. Changes in some factual details are there. For example, if a particular, I've seen on BBC News, we were looking at certain videos which were claiming that these images or videos are from Italy, and people suffering on streets. But that was not the case. It was something else. It was some other issue altogether. So we have to be careful. Even when we are on YouTube, you can always report abuse and say that this is a fake video if you feel that there is something wrong with the video. There are specific websites which also detect fake news. Botometer, factcheck.org, Snopes, Hoaxy, MetaFact, Boom, Alt News. Google reverse image search, YouTube data viewer, SM Hoaxlayer. They are some of the names which we've seen on the web and doing some good work in terms of curbing fake news. Times Internet, TOI Fact Check, and Quint. This is has another site called Webcoof, and Facebook and WhatsApp are also doing their measures, as Shivnathji was just explaining, to curb fake news. So you can actually go onto the site, and there is a fact check, tab at the top, which will really give the kinds of news which people have reported could be fake, and they have checked and verified and it is fake. So they display all those fake news on that particular page and say under the name of fact check. This specimen website is also there from SM Huxley's. I think it's not for profit, but doing some good work on the fake news space. Okay, so this takes me, brings me to AI. How can we combat fake news most intelligently? It's a day and age of drones and robots and AI and machine learning and deep learning. And it's possible using artificial intelligence that we can develop some systems and software which detect fake news better. For example, there's a project which is COVID-19 Open Research Dataset. Now they are using, natural language processing. So if it's linguistic, if it's textual, they're using some natural language processing to analyze scientific papers about coronavirus and to see if they are authentic. And the goal is, it's been put, that to find the right scientific articles and items, because there are lots of them which are not really scientific, and they are again fake. Then we also have a paper, I've seen that at 2019 New IPS AI conference, researchers are claiming that AI can be used, using the advanced language models. You can actually automate stance detection. And using AI, you can develop some multi-layer, perceptors. You can develop them and use some long-short memory models using artificial neural network architectures. And you develop these, transformers, and they are used in the state-of-the-art language models like GPT and Meena. Now, all these things are really indicating that we have a long way to go. We can really utilize AI to not only check, I think we are all familiar with the photo DNA technology by now, that we can check duplication of fake images. Even we've used it in child pornography cases to detect fake news, or we can also use probably photo DNA imaging for similar reasons to curb fake news against COVID, or relating to COVID. So apart from photo DNA, you have this AI where we can use that to screen some textual misleading news, some even images or videos. It is possible to use the same. And I think I've come across this, Facebook uses AI-based robot to detect fake news. I think this is one of the technologies which was available in the public domain for us to see that they're also already using such technologies to detect fake news. So with this, I think I just feel that what are the best practices? I think, Tarun, there was a video which I had shared with you earlier. I don't know if we can play that, but in a nutshell, I just want to explain what this video is about.
You wanted to play?
I hope we'll be able to play that, but in a nutshell, the video is talking about what are the ways to detect manipulated videos which are fake. And it talks about 3 different models. One is the manipulated model, one is a deceptive model, and another one, it talks about how completely doctored, videos are there. Either they will use omissions, or they will be using superimpositions or morphing or misrepresentation to showcase. We've seen the President of America, for example, talking, but it's not that, it's somebody else talking, the voice is somebody else's, the picture is there. So these are very common everyday things, but how we can actually detect whether this is genuine or not. That video is very important from Fact Checker. So I hope, Tarun, we'll be able to play that. Let's have a look at that first.
Sure, I'll just share.
Thank you.
Video advances. There's even more urgency to understand what's real and what's fake.
The fact checkers set up
is sharing a brief clip from a larger video, creating a false narrative. Like when conservatives shared that snippet of Representative Ilhan Omar, making it sound like she downplayed the 9/11 attacks. Yikes. If there seem to be gaps or unexplained transitions in a video, it may have been intentionally edited. The third category is malicious transformation. The video has been manipulated to transform the footage itself. Doctoring is altering the frames of a video, cropping or changing the speed using Photoshop, dubbing audio, or adding artificial intelligence to make high-quality fake images. This includes deepfakes, like the video of Mark Zuckerberg created using artificial intelligence to make him say things that he never said.
Whoever controls the net.
Online users should show more skepticism before believing that a viral video really happened. And politicians and public figures have a responsibility to be more careful about what they share on their social media feeds. Manipulated videos into three broad categories. The first category is missing context. The video is unaltered, but it's presented in a way that lacks or misstates the context in which events occurred. Misrepresentation is using incorrect framing of a video that misleads the viewer. For example, Trump campaign advisor Katrina Pearson took this video to represent rockets being fired in Gaza, but it was really filmed in Belarus, 2,000 miles away. Isolation is sharing a brief clip from a larger video, creating a false narrative. Like when conservatives shared that snippet of Representative Ilhan Omar, making it sound like she downplayed the 9/11 attacks.
Far too long, we have lived with the discomfort of being a second-class citizen. And frankly, I'm tired of it. And every single Muslim in this country should be tired of it. CARE was founded after 9/11 because they recognized that some people did something and that all of us were starting to lose access to our civil liberties.
If the quote or video isn't being reported by multiple verified news outlets, it might be missing some important context. The second category is the deceptive edit. That means the video has been edited or rearranged. Omission is editing out large portions of a video to skew reality. A liberal activist group shared this edited video of Senator Dianne Feinstein speaking to children about climate change that makes her look cool and dismissive.
We have our own Green New Deal.
Some scientists have said that we have 12 years to turn this around.
Well, it's not going to get turned around in 10 years. What we can do.
Splicing is editing videos together to fundamentally change the story, like when this conservative news outlet combined two different interviews of then Democratic congressional candidate Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, changing the meaning behind her answers.
Do you have any knowledge whatsoever about how our political system works?
Yikes. If there seem to be gaps or unexplained transitions in a video, it may have been intentionally edited. The third category is malicious transformation. The video has been manipulated to transform the footage itself. Doctoring is altering the frames of a video, cropping or changing the speed using Photoshop, dubbing audio, or adding or deleting visual information in order to deceive the viewer. For example, this video of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi was slowed down to make her look drunk.
Sort of visuals that obviously were planned long before I said most currently. With all this sort of visuals that obviously were planned long before I said most currently.
Fabrication is using artificial intelligence to make high-quality fake images. This includes deepfakes.
I think that's repeating itself now, Doctor.
Yeah, looks like. Okay. So I hope that video was helpful, but the fact checker has this how to check whether a video is doctored or monitored or manipulated. You can have a look at that. It's on available on YouTube as well. But long and short of it is that I wanted to sum up and say that yes, we are in the COVID times. It's unprecedented. We've seen what toll it can take on human psychology and human health and throughout the world, but we have to fight it together. And not only do we have to maintain, say, stay home and stay safe approach and take the measures of, Lakshman Rekha, as our Honorable PM says, it's a very bold initiative of lockdown. But yes, considering public interest, public health and, security, it's very important for us to take, give full cooperation on this drive and, safeguard ourselves. Having said that, our digital space and our digital world is equally important. We may be indoors, but we are yet exposed to the, huge, I would say, space called cyberspace, and it still has criminals. While physically we're in the house and we're feeling safe, we may not know that in this crisis and in this, confusion that is there today, we may end up, causing each other harm or ourselves harm, by circulating fake news to others. And it's our duty, and it's something that we owe to ourselves and to our, countrymen and the world, that we take full responsibility in what we are, consuming as information, and what we are forwarding ahead, and adopt due diligence measures to check what links we are clicking, or what apps we are downloading, or what educational or video conferencing apps. Check the terms, check the source before you do anything on the web. And it's very important to maintain digital safety in COVID times. I underline that with the statement. And I want to end by saying that, in Harvard School, we've seen videos of the previous dean, Ted, speak about this. Less is more approach. That is what we need to follow today. We are, in a time when we feel curtailed in terms of our movement and social distancing, but less is more approach. Stay safe, stay home, and stay careful and prudent. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Seth. Thank you so much. We are open to questions. I would request all panelists to actually switch on the cameras now so that we can start with the Q&A.
Hey, Tarun, hi, this is Shivnath. I'm afraid I'll need to hop off at 4 o'clock. It is 4. I'm happy to take all the questions which come through you, and you can email it to me. But I need to hop off. I have another call to attend.
No worries. I'll have that question sent to you.
Thank you so very much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Seth.
Thank you, Shivnath. Thank you.
So I would encourage everybody to start typing in questions in the Q&A section. Dr. Seth, this one is for you. What one should do immediately if he or she realizes that the money has been due?
I'm losing your voice.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better?
Okay, what one needs to do, yeah, that's better now.
What one
so immediately,
correct.
Yeah, I can hear you now. So immediately one needs to report to the police and also the bank where, you have an account.
Right.
The bank needs to block, you need to ask the bank to block all your credit card in case this is a credit card misuse or your account, so that there is no suspicious activity which takes place. And if your account is, compromised, you would come to know immediately if there's any kind of, I hope you subscribe to the alerts, because the moment there's a debit, there should be an alert in your account. You should have registered for that service. So if you haven't, then first thing I would say, ask everybody to do is subscribe and register to the alert service in your banks. Because no matter, a lot of people are not even using antiviruses and spywares on their phones, and a lot of virtual activity we're doing through phones. So it's utmost important for us to first of all, download this and register with the bank for the SMS alerts. And whenever you're downloading any kind of apps, check the terms of use, check whether this is credible before you anyways, do the same. Don't click on any phishing links that you suspect are, not true. So that's what I would say. Police action, immediately you need to, lodge a police complaint. You can register it online these days. There is registration of FIRs and helpline numbers of cybercrime, and that's also possible. So you must take those measures.
There are a couple of questions on FB and WhatsApp. Obviously, Shivnath would have been in a better position, but people would love to know the legal standpoint also. So the question is that if they want to report a fake video or a fake message received on WhatsApp or other social media platforms, how do you report it to the government?
If you find anything which is suspicious or fake on a particular social media platform like WhatsApp, there are things to be done immediately. First of all, take screenshots, because one moment your evidence is lost. Take screenshots of the same, save that particular page. immediately, if you have an option to report abuse, the same. If it's on YouTube, for example, you also need to, immediately write to the public grievance officer there. And, there's a legal email ID, which is given on every website, of writing to a public grievance officer. That should be done. And unless you bring it to the actual notice of a social media platform, there's something like this is happening, it may not be possible for them to monitor every single page. So it is our duty to immediately inform the social media portal. You can also write to the helpline or a police to verify this if you're suspecting this same to be illegal, and you can check up some official website handles, for example, of a fake news, to check up if it's claiming to be from Times of India, for example. You can actually go onto the Times of India site to verify if that is the case. There's some R&D which we can do, at least from our own measures or own common sense, that we can really use in these times of crisis. So it's important to do that as well.
Now, one person has asked that, is there a law to support a person in case of an incorrect transaction? And then if it is, then what is the process?
Could you please repeat the question?
If there's an incorrect online transaction and you are at the receiving end, is there a law that protects your right? And if there is a law, how do you go about it?
Yes. The RBI has given a mandate. The mandate is of zero liability to a consumer. If you've informed the bank and yet there's a transaction which happens, there's a zero liability on the consumer if he has already informed the bank. But you need to take a prompt measure within, I think, 12 hours or 24 hours. We have to inform the same, and the bank as well. There's another thing. If there are certain times where the bank may have, the site of the bank or the server of the bank may have been hacked. So we don't know. That could be another modus operandi, that instead of hacking a particular consumer's bank account, it could be a server hack, maybe multiple people being affected. In that situation also, a consumer is protected because it's not his fault. So the RBI has given clear guidelines, the master circulars on the same. And you can file a case if there is an unauthorized debit. You can write to the bank. If they don't reverse the same, you please preserve the bank a statement and either file an action before the banking ombudsman. If they don't agree to refund, you can also sue under IT Act. We have a adjudicating authority office, which is the secretary IT of every state. He is the right officer or the court who would hear about such unauthorized debits into an account and reverse the entries. He could direct damages to be paid, compensation to be paid by the bank to the consumer.
Dr. Said, are you aware about an application called AnyDesk?
Abbreviation called?
Application called AnyDesk.
Yes.
Now, people are saying they've been asked to install this application, but this application automatically takes control of your phone or your computer, and then they can do a remote session. How do you get away with it? Or how do you find out who's doing it?
You need to have a good antivirus and block that particular this particular app that you are saying, or this particular page. Sometimes they come in like a plugins to current browsers. They would have come with maybe an infected file or even a ebook that you're downloading. It could come from any website and get loaded onto your device. You can just uninstall it and block it completely.
Dr. Chandna and Dr. Singh, I have a question from a cybercrime division. They say we get most of COVID-19 phishing link or fake messages complaints from public, which is shared via Facebook Messenger.
Your voice, I've lost your voice. Your voice is not clear. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So this question is from the cybercrime division. This says most of the COVID-19 phishing link or messages complaints from public which are shared on Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp. So is there a separate category for COVID-19 where we can get the accused registration details as soon as possible, either from Facebook records or LEA portal or something of that sort?
See, normally any social media platform will not reveal, it's a confidential information. If an account has been created by somebody using their platform, they would share it with the law enforcement. So if the police ask them, I'm sure they're under an obligation to cooperate with the police. They should be able to manage and get that information from Facebook and WhatsApp or other media, because they are obligated to give the same. It may not be possible for a common person or even a professional to ask them for that data because it is confidential, but not for the law enforcement purposes. They can very well ask them for the same.
And Dr. Chandra, this is the question that I think would actually come to you. Most of financial frauds that happen day before the holidays, generally Fridays, Saturdays. Fraudsters take advantages of the holidays. At this crucial time, how can the banks address the issue?
Your audio is not there, Dr. Chandra.
Question I would like Dr. Seth to answer, because this is her domain. The question is, most of the frauds happen just one day before the holidays, generally Friday, Saturdays. At this crucial time, how the law enforcement agencies and banks can address these issues?
Okay, so we know if it's a weekend, there have been cases where people have tried to book gift coupons, movies, vouchers, or food apps, and loading them with different schemes. And a weekend generally is a time when people would load that and be duped of monies. So immediately, there is an online banking process also possible. We have net banking. We have emergency helplines of most banks, and there is a relationship manager also of the bank. If you have a good sort of relationship with the bank, you would have somebody separately assigned for your particular account. You can immediately also write to them or speak to them on phone and get those cards or those things blocked from your end, and change your passwords immediately if that is still possible for you to do. That is also important. And if your system is compromised, you need to immediately check that. If you have an anti spyware or anti-virus on your system, you can run through it and see the critical check as well. Mainly the thing is you have to stop the money from being siphoned off, because once it goes out, it's happened in Nigerian attacks, it's happened in man-in-the-middle attacks, very difficult to recover the money also. So it's important to touch base with the bank. So whatever way you can best communicate with the bank to take action, or on your own take action through net banking or phone banking, one must immediately do the same.
I guess we are at the end of the session now. We have a lot more questions which we'll answer offline. At this point, I'd like to invite Colonel Saurav Sanyal to close this webinar for us.
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you so much for inviting me now. And on behalf of ASSOCHAM and on my own, I wish to thank all the distinguished speakers, especially Dr. Karnika Sethji, the renowned cyber law expert and founder, Seth Associates, for the detailed presentation and thereafter taking on the questions. Very apt questions by the participants and very well answered by Dr. Karnika. Thank you so much. Or at the same time, I would like to thank Dr. Lavnish Chanana ji, Chairman ASSOCHAM, IT and ITES and E-Commerce Council, and the Vice President of Government Affairs, Asia Pacific and Japan, SAP, for setting the pace of the webinar and talking to all of us and giving out the preamble of the topic today. I wish to thank Sri Shivnath Tukralji, the Director of Public Policy, WhatsApp and Facebook, in absentia, since he had to move out. I thank all the participants and all the industry captains and my colleagues from ASSOCHAM who have attended this seminar. I would wish to place on record my appreciation and thanks to Mr. Varun Agarwal and his team, who have in a very short time put up this webinar. Thank you so much, Varun, and keep it up. I also wish to thank CORE. I would be failing in my duty if I don't do this and mention the role of CORE, that is the continuity and resilience, for participating with ASSOCHAM, for partnering with us, and for putting up all the webinars for our members, our employees, and our industry at large. Tarunji, you have been very, very kind and you have been very proactive in putting all these webinars. I thank you from the core of my heart. I also thank Gaurav and Rohit, who have traced core, and therefore, in this trying times, we have been able to put up all these webinars. We'll continue to be putting up many more webinars next week. Please wait and watch. It will be there on our website, as well as it will be communicated to you through emails, WhatsApp, messages, et al. Thank you so much once again.
I would also thank everybody here. It's been such a wonderful opportunity through ASSOCHAM and Varun's initiative, Dr. Lavnish and Colonel Sanyal and Mr. Shivrat Thakral, without which, and Tarun, of course, facilitating this whole webinar. And my special thanks to all the participants today. I think we are all spearheading, and we are all going to contribute in our own small way, whatever we best we can. And please spread this message around. And I hope that a lot of people will be safeguarded from being duped after watching and hearing us and hearing you when you spread the word forward.
Certainly.
Thank you so much. And also, please don't forget, there is an NCRB site, where you can go, cybercrime.gov.in, where you can actually see and report crimes also. And NCRB is also collecting a lot of data on cybercrime specifically. We've got statistics. Last year, we've had 77% increase, from the statistics from last year. So thank you for being here, and thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Jai Hind.
Chanda, a few words from you before we let you go.
Well, thank you everyone for I personally believe this is only the beginning of the discussion that we were able to initiate today. This is a topic which may require days and days of deliberations on, because this is not a single stakeholder actionable that we have been trying to address. Thank you all the participants for the active participation. Thank you Varun and team for making it possible, and thank you Dr. Seth for such a detailed presentation and answering some of the questions. I'm aware there are still questions that are unanswered, and we'll be answering those.
Yes, certainly.
Thanks, Tarun, for facilitating, and thank you everyone, all the participants who took 1 hour of time during this lockdown and be with us. The questions have been really, I liked many of the questions, and these have been really, some of these are thought spinning in terms of what can be done, and this puts us also into thinking position. Thank you so much, and we look forward to interacting on many such occasions with all of you. Thanks again.
Everybody stay home, be patient, everything is going to end up well. Varun, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Varun.
Hello. Yes, I would like to thank Dr. Kanika Seth, Dr. Lavnish Chanana, our DSG Saurabh Sanyal ji, Shivnath Thakral ji for making it happen. And we shall be organizing many more such webinars in the coming week. So I would request everybody to join those seminars. And I would also like to thank all the participants who have, taken down 1 hour from their busy schedule. And thank you very much for being online with us.
Thank you.
Okay.